so for slides, how do I ask?
Hello everybody, Sanda Adelaja here from Kyiv, Ukraine. Welcome back to our special program that we're having today devoted to Africa, especially Southern Eastern African countries and the diaspora. So we want to see how the transformation project that we plan for Africa, for Nigeria, is going to affect the African countries. Especially now that I have David here with me, who is a representative of Southern Africa. So he's closer to Southern Eastern Africa, and he's probably concerned about me talking just about Nigeria and how is that all going to affect the Southern and Eastern part of Africa. So let's welcome David from South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania, and Mozambique, all those people, places together. Welcome, David.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, you are now based in Canada.
Yes.
So what do you think we are here to do? Can you present this program to our viewers so that they will have a better understanding of what we're up to today?
Thank you very much, DSA. Dr. Sunday, this is a very big platform. It's a very special platform, and the most important thing is that we actually have heard of the transformation project in Southern Africa only recently, only a few months ago. And the only thing we want to ask right now is, can we have foreign direct investment at this point and not have to wait for a later stage?
Okay, well, at this point, unfortunately, we cannot have the fullness of what I want to bring to Africa until I live here. I am planning, by the grace of God, not to start to do anything actively in Africa until after I'm able to travel myself and able to see things for myself. Because I've tried to do things in Africa and I've suffered a lot of losses just by not being there. So concerning foreign direct investment, that I could arrange for even without going to live in those countries. So if I go to Africa, the impression that is easy to have is that once I go to Africa, I will have to finish doing the transformation of Nigeria before going to the other African countries. But what I'm trying to say is that no, at parallel, we could be doing something similar in every country of Africa. Not by me, maybe not the same kind of transformation project, but at least the minimum of foreign direct investment. We could begin to do foreign direct investment for sure, because I know people who are ready and willing to come and invest in African countries, especially there are 4 different countries that are very strong in the radar of people that I know in Europe who want to come to Africa. One of the countries that people really are interested in is South Africa. Then people are interested in Nigeria. People are interested in Congo, DRC. People are also interested in Guinea-Conakry. So those 4 countries are the top-notch countries that attract the interest of the people that I personally, the investors that I am in relationship with. So even though I will be in Nigeria, but I'm sure that we could have those people, go to those countries and many other countries in those other regions if people will be interested in receiving them.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, in fact, that's actually that's the main purpose that we actually initiated this, because we need investment. But I see you've mentioned South Africa, you've mentioned Nigeria, you've mentioned Congo. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I think you actually proposed on this platform for DRC to revitalize DRC banks when the president of DRC Congo had actually asked for investment. So you've also mentioned Guinea, but we do have other countries in Southern Africa. Are you at this point able to even acknowledge that you will look at them, or you can get a certain amount of foreign direct investment to countries like Zimbabwe, Botswana, Mozambique, Malawi?
It will depend on the interest of those countries. And if those countries are interested and they show, the reason why I mentioned some of these countries, like Congo that you mentioned, is because the president, showed interest. And even yesterday, 2 days ago, what, you didn't see the people I had?
Yes,
I had a
yes,
visitor.
yes, I did.
Okay.
See, yes.
I had a presidential candidate from one of the countries, although a French-speaking country, visiting me. And this presidential candidate is also a representative of the president of DRC. So that's why we could begin to discuss with DRC, because the president is interested. And they came here to solicit for it. There is another country right now that the presidential candidate for that country wants to come and see me, another country. But it's also a French-speaking country. So if these countries will show interest, I'll be able to introduce them to people that I know who are interested in bringing direct investment, foreign direct investment to any country in Africa. Even if they are not interested, we'll make them interested if they see that the government are proactive about it.
Okay, and perhaps I can just jump into another question. You're talking about presidential candidates.
Yes.
What about the consumer, just the normal person on the street who has, a small business?
Yes.
What about the companies that are there who, if the foreign direct investment comes in, it's just going to be the same thing. It's either it's going to take long, there's going to be a lot of processes. Is there a mechanism that you can do from now, because I see from your platform from Nigeria transformation projects, you've asked people to send in projects,
yes.
Whatever the range, billions of dollars, and you're going to assess them from here. Can we have that mechanism? Because Southern Africans and East Africans are ready to go. They're not waiting for the governments. They're not waiting for any agencies. They're people that I actually know. If you say you send a project today, they'll send maybe 10 today. So is there something that you could do, even if I come out or someone comes out with a plan for $1 million or $3 million, as long as it helps the community, brings up other people in the community, will you be able to assess it?
No, we will not do that yet. Because even in Nigeria, for us to do that, we will make sure that we take all those people through a certain level of trainings and value orientation or reorientation. So that's even the people who have submitted their projects from Nigeria. We are not just going to give them finances and help immediately. We are going to make sure that they go through the value system training that we want to put in place. So for example, to be able to do something like that in any of the African countries, we will need to then have someone, let's say from Zimbabwe, who will come and pass through that training process that we organize, maybe for Nigerians. Then we could then use him as the representative of that value system, the kingdom values that we are promoting in Uganda or Zimbabwe, so that when he goes back, then it will be the person who we could trust with the resources that we are going to send into that country. And then he will now take it upon himself to also train other people. Because, for example, I personally don't see that the ultimate help or the ultimate good that I could bring to Africa is material things. So even though I want to bring about a material blessing and physical transformation, but those things are just going to be the doors and the means and the tools through which that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of my, just make sure it's silent. The ultimate goal of all my activities is to reform the mind and spirit and soul of the people. So if, for example, if we start, like we are planning to start, microfinance, organizations or microfinance banks, and this is what you are referring to, because you are talking about petty traders in the street. Our plan for them is to set up microfinance microfinancing. So, for example, let's say we have 1,000 people that we want to help and give money to finance their business. If we just give them that money without training them in value system and without changing their lives from inside, we will just be catering for their body, but their soul will be left uncatered for. So, but my ultimate goal is to be able to cater for the soul and the spirit of the individual, but the material thing we are giving is just like a bait. We are using that to just, attract them to us, to listen to us. So if we have 10,000 people apply for help, we want to help all of them, but in the process, they also must go through some orientation course, whereby they will be trained in values, how to manage money, so that the money doesn't destroy them. Because if you don't teach them value systems and we just give them money, the money could end up destroying them. They could make money and become rich and then be using the money to become drunkards, to drink, or to live lifestyles that would destroy them. So instead of just relying on money or physical things, we want to just see physical things like material things, like money and things like that, only as a tool to attract them to ourselves. But the whole thing that we want to really do is to get the message of the kingdom to them, to redeem their soul, to give them orientation, the right orientation in life, to teach them values about life, so that as they are getting the money, they are also being taught in the process, and they are being changed, and their lives are changing for the better. Their environment is changing. The same thing we are going to be doing in Nigeria. We are not just going to be bringing in money or physical transformation without giving in, without bringing in correspondent level of, value system, values that will transform the society.
Thank you very much. I think that is going to really open up a lot of hope right now. From what I gather, from what you've actually said right now, is that you are positive to actually bringing in some, finances or hope with training, and the door is open, and there's no country that is left out, despite the political situations in any of the countries.
No. The doors are open potentially, but if we don't have the invitation and we don't have the agreement of people, local people, either the government is easier. So, but if we don't have the government, at least we must have a representative, somebody that will be able to push forward our agenda and the values that we are going to present to them. So it's not just that it's open, anybody can just, no, they have to go through the process as well.
In fact, the process that you say, I see it, it makes a lot of sense. It adds a lot of value because from what I understand and from what I know personally is most Southern African countries and East African countries have been getting not just investments, grants, they've been getting loans, free loans from different organizations. We know the big organizations, I won't name them right now, but we've had loans and we've always wondered why, nothing has happened. People's lives have not changed. They've just gone to the back situation. And what you've stressed that people abuse money when they've not taught, I thought it would have been a simple concept that organizations would have taught people. And what you're doing is actually transformational in itself. That is not just an open door, but you really want people to have a representative agreements, training before you just give money. I think this will go a long way. And I think there's the hope of people, because right now there's not enough investments. There are issues from where to get the investments. I think some of our viewers from Southern and East Africa, they don't really know DSA. But before I even go into that whole topic, I just want to ask, because I'm also curious, as other people are curious at this juncture, what level of investment could you actually bring if, let's say, you have all the requirements, you have the agreements, people are willing to come and get trained, the projects are valued. Let's say for any country, medium-sized country in Southern Africa, let's say Zambia, or one of the countries, or a larger country, let's say Tanzania. Would you be able to go even to the billions of real big infrastructure projects, or multi-billions, or would you be able to actually source from different organizations, if they have credit and merit?
There are $50 trillion that are available for investment in the world. So $50 trillion that investors don't know where to invest it in. They are just lying down. in different, places and in different organizations who own them. So why is it that there is $50 trillion? That is like 2 times the economy of the United States of America, more than 2 times. It's like 3 times the economy of Europe. So why is that kind of money, just lying down, and because there are a lot of conditions that are attached to them. And most of this is in trust. Now, God has helped me. I have relationship with people that will be able to bring in billions of money in investment. So that will not be a problem. The only thing that will be needed is that these people must give. People don't want to come to Africa without guarantee. They need some form of guarantee. So nobody wants to let their money go to Africa without, especially when I'm talking now about billions. When you talk about the micro or middle businesses, like those, petty traders who are trading in the street, those ones I could even finance that by myself from my own organization. We could set that, up. But when it comes to projects that goes in the hundreds of millions of dollars, like $100 million, $50 million and above, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million projects, 1 billion, 3 billion, we can bring in the people, but in that case, they want to have some form of guarantee, either from the government, either it is going to be in form of bank guarantee, or it's going to be in form of SBLC, or it's going to be in form of sovereign guarantee. People want to have assurance before they bring that kind of investment to Africa.
I think some people in Southern Africa really, or East Africa, or even Nigeria and other countries, they can't even imagine what you've just said right now. The extent, the impact, or I think governments alone with whole teams of governments over years have not been able to amass or be able to connect those amounts from even $100 million for a government. It takes quite a lot of effort.
Yeah, but if you look at Rwanda, because there is somebody that I know who is helping Rwanda to bring in money. And Rwanda is having enough money for its infrastructural development and for its economic development as well. So where is Rwanda getting the money from? Well, I know. Nobody knows, but I know. I know the person who is responsible for that. So, and if that could be arranged for every country in Africa. But they are not going to do it if there is no guarantee and trust.
Well, you've just even answered another question that I had about Rwanda specifically about, I think they have Carnegie Mellon University, a top US university. It's actually based in Rwanda. There's so many things, tech hubs in Rwanda, a lot of innovation. So when I listen to what you can bring to our Southern African countries, I'm just looking at where Rwanda was, just in 1994 after a major genocide, and where Rwanda is actually overtaking a lot of other countries in a relatively short period of time. The one thing that as I said before, is that most Southern Africans, or I'd say, I don't even know, more than 100 people I can say in Southern Africa who really know DSA. So we would like to go probably to the slide to show about your background, to understand who you are. I want to understand more basically where you came from. Just a snippet. I know a lot of Nigerians know you through and through, but Southern Africans for all the years that you've had an impact on the world have just only probably know you through me.
So you want to see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide.
Do you have a slide there about who am I? I need to.
I think
who is DSA, or what was the title of the slide?
It's the DSA's background.
DSA's background.
Okay.
Okay,
so yes, this is the slide.
This one? Okay.
Yes.
So, you want me to say it, or you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I can just say a few.
Because we might not really need the slide, yes, because I can just go ahead and talk.
Sure enough.
Yeah, best slide. Sure. Yeah, so who is DSA? Well, DSA, they call me DSA, but my name is Sunday Adelaja. DSA only stands for Dr. Sunday Adelaja. I was born in Nigeria in 1967. I grew up in Nigeria till I was 19 years old. I left Nigeria at the age of 19, and I've been living in Europe for the past 33 years. And yeah, but now, after 33 years of living in Europe, I am poised to go back to Nigeria and go back to Africa to contribute as much as I could to the development and the industrialization of Nigeria and Africa in particular. So what have I done? Why is it that I believe that I can make a difference? Because while first of all, I've been living here for 30-something years, and I've been able to intermingle with a lot of people, both in Russia, in the Ukraine, former Soviet Union, and in countries of Europe, and also, in other countries of the world. For example, God has helped me, and I was able to build, at the age of 33, I was able to build a church of 15,000 people. By the time I was 40 years old, I had built a church of 25,000 people in Kyiv alone, with about 100,000 people all over the world in about 50 countries of the world. And one thing that most people know me for is that I'm the black man that was able to build a church that is 99% white Europeans, and not just in Ukraine, but in about 50 other countries of the world. So, so that is what one of the things that stands me out. But besides just being a pastor, God has also helped me to bring about change in the political life of Ukraine. And our church and myself were able to play a leading role in the Orange Revolution that took place in Ukraine. And ever since, we've been able to influence the political life of this country, including having 3 political parties from our church, and also controlling up to 34% of the parliament of Kyiv, and also producing the mayor of the city, the capital city of Ukraine, and also having a number of senators in the parliament of the country. Besides that, I've also been privileged to minister at the Japanese parliament, where I was able to actually bring to salvation a number of Japanese senators. And also I've been privileged to minister twice at the Knesset, that is the parliament of Israel. And I've also been privileged to speak directly and as a consultant to the 2 presidents of Israel, two prime ministers of Israel, Sharon and Netanyahu. So, and I've met them personally and talk about different things. And then I've also been able to speak at the United Nations twice, and also been able to speak at the United States Congress and at the Senate as well. So yeah, a whole lot of consultative work that I've been able to do. So those experiences that I've had have given me the opportunity and the confidence to be able to know what are the things needed to move Nigeria and Africa countries forward. I've also, apart from being a consultant to head of states and nations like that, I've also been able to write books in this direction about national transformation, changing of nations, like this book that we have here, how every African country can become a first world country, how every African nation can become a first world nation. So, and many other books about nations and how to build civilized and developed nations. I've also written over 400 books, but not in Russian and in English together. So in English will be maybe about 200 books in English. And so, yeah, I think I have enough of what it takes. I have different projects and vision and plans of what I plan to go and do in Africa. I plan to go to Africa with at least 2,000 people from different countries of the world to go to Nigeria. And from Nigeria, we want to also extend our work to all other countries of Europe.
Wow. Wow.
Of Africa, sorry.
Well, that's a big, massive resume.
Of course, I'm married.
Yes.
I'm married to a beautiful Nigerian lady. Her name is Bosse, and I'm blessed with 3 kids.
Yes. Well, I can't imagine anyone who even comes close to what you've done or what you've succeeded. Especially you came from a background, a poor village in Nigeria.
Yes.
And you were raised by your grandmother.
Yes.
And now you go, at 19 years old, you got a scholarship to the former USSR.
Yeah.
And you came, and by the time you're only 33, you now have the biggest church
Yes.
across Europe.
Yes. Evangelical,
Evangelical, yes.
Protestant church. Yeah.
And you know, that just baffles people's minds. And what even baffles me even more, or what might even baffle a lot of other people, is why is it that a lot of Southern Africans and Eastern Africans, or maybe other countries that I'm not even putting in the mix, don't even know you. You've been on the global scale for, let's say, at least 25 years. Not only were you there for 25 years, you've had an impact in all those years. You were in the Orange Revolution, you changed the whole nation, you know, from being communist to democratic. And we're actually here, we're in Kyiv, Ukraine. And if you come into Ukraine, you'll find how peaceful it is. I never ever thought of ever coming to Ukraine. I always had a mentality of, you know, it's communist or so forth. It's a very peaceful and beautiful country. And you can see the development in it. And, you know, you are part of that revolution, that change, that revolution, the Orange Revolution. So along that, we've been learning history in Africa, but we never came across Dr. Sunday Adelaja. We've been learning modern history too, so either could have found you in my African history book, or I could have found you in my modern history book, because I also study modern history. A lot of schools study modern history for a couple of years. Or we have libraries from even before computers. Apart from computers, we have newspapers. We have journalists, we have intelligent people, we have professors, we have leaders. We have the OAU, we have the SADC, we have the Eastern African community. Maybe I'm missing something out, but why haven't any one of them mentioned you? Or maybe they have mentioned you, but I just probably haven't come across it.
Well, you know, the world is only recently become a global village. Even in Nigeria, where I come from, you know, most people don't know me. Not just in Southern African countries, even Nigeria, up to now, if you go to Nigeria, most people don't know who Sunday Adelaja is. So, because most of my focus had not been about Africa and has not been towards Africa. Like I said, if I said 50 countries that have been influenced by us, the countries of Africa there will not be more than 5 or maybe 10 maximum. All the other countries are countries in Europe and America and other places. So I've not been actively involved with Africa. Yes, I've been to a few countries in Africa. I've been to South Africa, and they had known about me in South Africa back 15 years ago. Wow. I went to South Africa in 2002, 2003. So, but only the white South Africans were inviting me, funny enough. I don't know why the white South Africans are the ones who got to know about me, and they were inviting me. And I was going there. I was meeting with blacks there too, but my hosts were mainly white South Africans. Then I've also been able to visit another country in Africa apart from Nigeria, Rwanda. I've been to Rwanda, so they know me there. I even have a school, National Transformation Institute in South Africa. We have another one in Rwanda. We have another one in Uganda. We have another one in Kenya, but not too many in these other countries of Southern Eastern Africa, apart from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, South Africa. So we have schools in those places. So some people might have heard about me there. And recently I saw in the newspaper, actually on YouTube, a minister in South Africa, the Minister of Education. She was speaking in the parliament, and she's a woman. I don't know if she's still there. That was a year ago or 2. So she was talking in the parliament, describing the kind of work she plans to do for South African education system. And she was saying, according to Dr. Sunday Adelaja of Nigeria, who is based in Ukraine, and she started quoting my words and as a basis of the change that she wants to bring to South Africa educational system. So there might be some people who do know, but maybe not enough. Just like with Nigeria also, there might be a few people who do know, but not enough.
I still, the questions are too many for me in how, we just missed you, with all the people, because the one thing is in Southern Africa, we're looking for investment. We're looking for a change. Political parties always talk about change. There are political parties that are actually built on we are going to change. And this is a time when there's an obvious, solution. And the educational system that we have too, it's very good, but still we still missed it. I do see that you were actually featured in the Wall Street Journal, I think around 2017 too.
Yes. Yeah, I was featured in the Wall Street Journal. I was also featured in Washington Post. I was featured in Associated Press, Reuters. If you want, maybe after the program, we could go and search for Sunday Adelaja in Zimbabwe. You'll be surprised that Zimbabwean newspapers also wrote about me. South African newspapers have written about me. But, when you talk about newspapers, you have hundreds of news in one newspaper or two. So, and news come out every minute. So, people are not, now when you spoke about this history book and, modern history book and things, maybe I'm not yet old enough to be put in history book yet. I think because I've not even done anything for Africa yet. I'm just starting out. It's just like 2-3 years now that I started to talk about Nigeria mainly. So I've not deserved to be honored in history books yet. I've not done enough for Africa to be in their history book yet. So, but I hope I will live long enough to be able to do enough. Maybe then they will be able to write something about me. But in Europe here, where I am, there are universities that are studying Sunday Adelaja, the phenomenon of Sunday Adelaja and the Embassy of God Church. I went to Sweden, I didn't even know about this. I met a professor who says he is a professor that teaches. He wanted to come here. So he came here to study, and he said they teach a subject which is Christianity in Europe, modern Christianity in modern Europe. And the main topic there is Sunday Adelaja. That is in Sweden, in Norway, in Denmark, in Finland, in Iceland. Those countries, they teach about Sunday Adelaja. Then another one person I met from Germany, they also teach about Sunday Adelaja. Then in England, there are different schools. Scotland, Ireland, some schools. So, and then in the university in America, there are schools that teach. I didn't even know this. People themselves write to me and talk to me about it, that they teach about Sunday Adelaja as, in the area of history of Christianity in modern Europe.
Now that even brings another topic of the diaspora, because probably maybe in Africa, you were in Southern Africa or East Africa, or wherever it is, or even in Asia, they didn't come across you because you're mostly based here in Europe. But we have a lot of diaspora in all the countries you've mentioned, in Norway, Sweden, Germany, so haven't any one of them actually come over here from those regions in Southern Africa? Because for the time,
yes. Even the last HMT we had here was when? This is June. Okay. So the last HMT we had was in April. We even had a couple, husband and wife, that came in from Zimbabwe. Oh, good. Before then, we had a couple from South Africa. So we had people from Zambia here coming to our church and to my house as well. Not just from, I'm not just talking about diasporas now. I'm talking about people coming from diasporas and people coming from Africa itself, from all the way from South Africa, from Zambia, from Zimbabwe, from Uganda, from Kenya. We've had people here attending our church, our conferences, from Uganda, from, many of them have come here for the conference, both from diaspora and from the continent itself.
Okay. And would you say that, let's say, going even further, south, maybe further away from Nigeria, like South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia area, would you think perhaps you would expect that there'll be much more? Because how many people would you think actually follow you or know you from that region?
Oh, definitely. I know the people that I personally know by name, maybe will be about maybe in the 10s or 20. But I know for sure, according to statistics, if there are 20 people that are watching you that I know, that I could remember, that are so strong, so it means you have at least a few thousands who are definitely following that I might not know. So, so that's the way that's what I know of. But there might be more. But when you are talking about a few thousands, maybe 5,000, 10,000 in a country of 10 million people or 5 million people, that is nothing.
Yes. And I think that's one of the gaps that needs to be,
I would say I have the same problem in Nigeria as well, like I said. People don't really know who Sunday Adelaja is. Only a few people, very few people in Nigeria also will say they know who Sunday Adelaja is. So, and that's only because I started this movement against the churches and the cabals. Otherwise, less people would have even known about me. But when I get to the continent and we start our job, our work full time, especially the information work, I think we will catch up. The last will be the first.
Yes. And even when you mentioned your achievements for the benefit of people in Southern Africa, I think there's some other achievements that you actually missed out, which are actually very, very important.
Okay.
Not just for Southern Africa, but even for other countries, North America and so on. Your rehabilitation success for people with drug addictions, people with alcohol addictions and other addictions. Could you just explain, and how your rehabilitation system rates or compares to others, and what successes you've had?
Well, I've not done comparison myself. I think you yourself probably did something like that when you were preparing for this meeting, but I've not done any comparison. The only thing I know is that in the past 20 years of our activities with the drug addicts and alcoholic, we've been able to take off the street over 42,000 people, and we've been able to rehabilitate them back to the society, and they are now not just being back in the society, that is like saying nothing. They are now businessmen, big politicians, successful individuals, pastors, ministers, missionaries. These people have really, you could not even tell that they used to be addicted.
Wow. And even beyond that, you have about 200 people that you've transformed from, addicts to millionaires.
Yes. Yeah, we've been able to raise at least 200 millionaires. I heard that some people were saying, where are they? And one day I'm going to come out with a video of all of them, and we are going to see them physically, or the 200 people or more. We had a video that we released recently, just a short, maybe 5-10 minutes video. It's on YouTube, but we are going to even release like 2 hours video where you'll be able to see where these people are telling their stories, so that it's not a fluke, it's a real thing.
Okay, so I'm just going to steer back because we had to go back into your background, and you've got such an extensive background. And I just wanted Southern Africans and Eastern Africans to really understand, to know you and to understand what value you have for them. Because definitely you have access to finances and such, but even just to have that access, that means that there's something behind you.
Yeah, maybe something that will be interesting to them is that I used to sit on the same board with Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Carlos Slim, and some of the most powerful financial people in this world, and also with some head of states like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, the wife Hillary Clinton, the former Prime Minister of Canada, former Mayor of England, former Prime Minister of Ireland, Desmond Tutu, yeah, just all kind of leaders in the world, yeah. And I used to also be a member of the Bill Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, the list doesn't end, which even goes further to the same question, but I won't go back to why we still, I haven't heard much and why we didn't seek that information, why we weren't actively seeking. So there's a lot of work we need to do as Southern Africans and Eastern Africans. I think there's something that's missing. You also have, we're mentioning we're going back into the funding for Southern and Eastern Africa for the money part. And we're talking about the training. And even right now, a lot of Southern Africans and Eastern Africans, they want to position themselves. They want to know where to position themselves. Likely, we know that the funds are there. There's almost limitless amount of money. We have $50 trillion if you qualify. And let's say, what's the length of time between, let's say we have everything organized, we have a representative for a country, and people writing their projects, and let's say, how long will it take for the representative to get trained, and for people to now actually get trained and have money in their pockets and things start to move?
We don't know when it's going to begin. That's the problem, because I must get over with my battles here in Ukraine, and I must be able to, leave this country before I begin to deal with Africa. So let's say we begin as a representative of a country passes through the training, maybe for 6 months, and in the next 6 months, he needs to get back to his country, be able to put things together, and yeah, so within a year.
Within a year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not from now, but from whenever we start.
Well, at this point, I think this interview is going to get more interesting, because Southern Africa is saying we can't wait. We have things in motion. We have a big case right now. So possibly the only person, with the context that you have, with the people that you have who can connect and get things moving right now, because we are actually, a lot of countries actually have got nowhere to go. They have nowhere to turn to. We did prepare some slides, and we have some questions and actual points that we'll refer to specifically. So, yeah, I think the conversation is now going to start to say, okay, well, it might take you 1 year, it could take 2 years, anything could happen. But this is such an urgent situation. This is such a massive, so by the time we finish, I think this is going to be a show that has never been seen before. We're going to try and actually have billions of dollars of investment into Southern Africa, maybe, by the end of the show, because we can't, we've got nowhere to turn. Southern Africans are telling me that 1 year option, even a couple of days, we're saying a couple of days is even too much. So let's just say, for instance, we can go to one of the slides, let's say the 10th slide, to show where we need the investment for.
Okay.
So basically, it's more about we need Southern Africa and Eastern Africa need investment for infrastructure.
Okay.
And some of the infrastructure is not. Well, we're trying to have projects where it's not politically sensitive, or it's not. No one in it doesn't trade on anyone in politics zone, or capacity to stop the project. The other part is there's urgent need for the banking system.
Okay, let's start with the infrastructure.
Right.
In most countries, it is impossible to do major infrastructural work without the government. So I don't know how that works in countries of Southern African and Eastern African countries, but I think it's the same thing. In most countries, it is not just a private venture to go into infrastructure. You at least need some government involvement. You at least need some government involvement, like permission and all those kind of things. So, but let me tell you my big plan, and this is not just for me. I have a team of people and that I'm working with and planning to on my planned return to Africa. Our ultimate vision, which I never really mentioned before, this is going to be the first time that I'm mentioning this. Our ultimate vision is to be able to unite all the countries of Africa together. We want to build infrastructure that will stretch from Lagos to Dakar, from Dakar to Cairo, from Cairo to Nairobi, from Nairobi to Cape Town, from Cape Town to Namibia. And we want to build infrastructure. For example, right now Ghana is building infrastructure, railway in Ghana. So what we want to do, we want to come to the table and negotiate with the government that we are going to help them find the money, and so that we'll build a railway across the whole axis of West Africa. So that then from West Africa, we want to join that railway to Central Africa. Then from Central Africa, we want to take it to Southern Africa. Then from Southern Africa to East Africa, and then back to the North Africa. So we want to be able to build infrastructure that will connect countries. So what we want to do, there's actually some work already going on in this regard, especially with our think tank. We have a think tank, a group of people that we are planning and strategizing and working towards change in Africa. But my focus has been about Nigeria. I have other partners, other people who are also from other countries in Africa that we're working some things together to be able to bring about infrastructural development across the continent. Not because right now, sometimes it is easier to travel to Europe from Africa than to travel to a different or neighboring African country. So we want to be able to provide infrastructural basis, like we want to be able to provide the money for not just for rail transportation among countries, but also road transportation, bridges, and things like that. So that is in the work right now. We are working on that already.
Okay. In fact, thank you very much for that. I think I should have specified even more. Perhaps we have some infrastructure projects that don't go as big nationally. Okay, so that's part of the infrastructure part that you are willing and you have this in plan. And people are wondering, why don't we have a train from South Africa that takes us to Lagos or to Egypt and around? And people are trying to sell goods. The supply chain is disastrous. Even across Eastern Africa, I think there was talk of that railway, but it still hasn't gone into the ground. And maybe it's finances at this point. The other part that we need is for help in the banking, in our banking sectors, monetary sector, our monetary system. I'll give an example of, we know hyperinflation has happened in Zimbabwe in 2008. It's probably due to happen again this 2013. Do you have any solution right now with what you have with the government in place and your connections? Do you think you could actually bring some solution to the nation of Zimbabwe?
Yes, I have. For example, I have some bankers, investment bankers who are right now. We are working on getting some banks. They want to buy some banks in DRC. That is Congo, Kinshasa. So right now we are working with the presidency and the national central bank of that country. So, but concerning Zimbabwe, I had a relationship with somebody in America who wanted to come in to give a backup for the finances, for the currency, for the Zimbabwean dollar. And they wanted to strengthen the dollar there and, bring in a lot of, it's not investment, it's more like financial policy. They wanted to bring in collateral. They wanted to use their money as a collateral for the Zimbabwe economy, so that they are not bringing in the money there, but they are using their money as a backup. And then, so on the credibility of that money, then the economy could be stabilized, and it could give faith and confidence to, investors and people like that. But these people sent a letter to the government of Zimbabwe. I think that was when Mugabe was there, but they never got a response. So maybe now, maybe there is a difference, because you cannot do this kind of thing without the government. It has to be with the government. So I don't know, maybe they will give it a try. I think they just lost hope. They just think if you don't care for your country, we care less. But the good thing about this is that these people are Christians, and I know them. So I'm sure when the country is ready, there will be help coming on the way.
Okay. And not just Zimbabwe, but I suppose any country which is before the actual collapse happens. So are you going to be sort of, for lack of better words, an angel waiting, in waiting to see, countries that are probably going to go into inflation? Because I don't think it's been done, or maybe it's done or it's not effective, that before a country is about to collapse, that you come and rescue countries in that region because of contagion. If one country collapses, the next collapses, I think Zimbabwe does business with South Africa, in the tune of like $2 billion that South Africa actually sells to Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe sells about 300 and so many millions, 350 million a year. So all these countries are very linked. And are you going to be able to probably have a facility so that all our Southern African and Eastern African countries know that there's a facility to help them?
Yeah, well, I know people who have the facility, but everything in this particular question you are asking is highly political. So there would be some political will from the African government side. Like, for example, one of the things that I like, okay, when we talk about political will, you were here a few days ago when, we were talking about a presidential candidate of a country, somebody that's going to become the next president of a country, came in here incognito and to discuss stuff and to ask for help. That is character right there. That is interest. That is political will. When there is such a political will like that, definitely those kind of people will get help. But for the investors, believe me, they don't go knocking. People who have money and resources, they don't go searching for people. No, they stay put. It's you who come to them. They don't go, say, I have money here. They don't even talk. People don't even talk that they have anything. And even when you apply for their help, they make you to wait and do their due diligence and, and say, and try to test you if you deserve to be helped or not. So especially then when you are not showing interest, you are not, showing any interest, then they just forget about you. You become the loser.
Well, unfortunately, the common person suffers, especially when it's political, to some extent. Would you think there's any solution that, ordinary people can do, through, let's say, I think there's policies where setting up a bank to a 50-50 investment, where setting up a strong bank where, maybe you have people that you trust in the nation and they own 50% of the money and you have 50% of
No, that's the kind of thing I already said. It's microfinancing. Okay. Microfinance could be set up. Like, we would do that definitely. Okay, we are planning to do that in Nigeria, but also all over Africa. Like I said, but we will need to go back to the continent to start that, and also to train the people who are going to be involved for them to carry the same value as us. And
I do see another opportunity for a lot of people, because there were people who have millions of people throughout the continent who have had outrageous amount of loans, 30%, 30% per month. There have been a lot of shocks over these years, and hopefully maybe we could have some rescue package where, investors will come in and start to rebuild their lives, to go back and say, well, you actually had this money that you borrowed maybe even 10 years ago, and they went bankrupt, not because of their fault, but just because of their situation. Now their lives are shattered. They're in poverty. They probably had experience and they don't have homes. Could you actually do something different that has never been done? Because we are dealing with other banks who don't, go the extent that you go to actually think of the person. Could you actually have some of that to start to rebuild people's, each and every single person's life in some of those countries?
No, there are only just going to be opportunities. The only program we're having is what I just spoke about, the microfinance program. That is when people who don't have collaterals or people who are just ordinary petty traders can come and ask for some money to start their lives all over again. But for whatever they have done with the other banks and the money they have lost, we are not going to get involved with that. Only government policy can fix that.
Okay. And I think we all still go back to the government, right?
Yeah.
So with the governments right now, we have systems where people have been waiting for governments to shift or to move for 20 years, 30 years, and there doesn't seem to be a solution. In your capacity with your knowledge, your transformation and your credibility, would you be able to probably help mediate, like what you've done with the younger, with the, let's say the waiting DRC candidate, to sort of mediate with a couple of our African governments, if us,
with the DRC is not the candidate, that is the president we are working with.
Oh, wow.
Okay, can we do anything about what?
To mediate with right now we have political situations where we have incumbent governments right now, and we have other, let's say opposition governments, especially in times of elections where we have disputes in elections and so on. And probably the fastest way to deal with some of these problems is to have someone to mediate power sharing or something of that.
No, I'm not going to go into, that is all political.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in political stuff.
Okay.
In Nigeria, I might show interest, to be able to do some things to influence politics. But in any other country in Africa, I'm not interested. I'm only, if there are going to be local people who will take responsibility for their countries, especially for the political change in their countries, well, that's their own, to their credit. That's to their credit. So every country will have to produce their own leaders, who will challenge the political status quo and bring about change. But I will not be able to do that for any other country.
Okay, unfortunately, we don't have DSAs in these other countries.
Why not? They should be trained.
Yes.
If they will all follow my teachings and trainings and really be diligent to study my materials, a lot of DSAs will come up in every country.
And just on that point about your achievements, could you, let me not even say it myself, I'll give you the opportunity to say how many videos have you uploaded for free on the internet? And
we have definitely over 7,000 videos right now on YouTube, yeah. Just trainings and teachings, there are over 7,000 of them.
And even your books are completely free from Kindle?
Yeah, unlimited, yes.
Unlimited. And what is the range of topics, or do you put your topics, can you actually say, because you have 300 books and some in Russian and articles and a lot of things happening, can you actually say the range of topics that you cover or categories?
Out of 300 books, there are so many of them. I've written about Nigeria, I've written about Africa, I've written about ingenuity, how to be a genius and release your ingenuity and ingenuity. I've written about how to become, effective and great like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. I've written about time. I've written about adding value to yourself, and I've written about families. I've written about men, women. I've written about knowing God. I've written about relationship with God. I've written about, superstitious things, psychological things, sociological topics. I've written about a lot of books about national transformation topics. I've written about financial topics. I've written about ministerial work, ministerial topic. Yeah, just a myriad of topics that I've written about, a lot of them.
Yeah, because as you were talking, I was trying to find topics that you have not written about.
Yeah,
so it's the other way around.
Yeah,
it's easier
to find topic I've not written about. Yes.
Okay, so basically anyone can go, and if they have a topic,
any topic. Yeah.
And I found on your website on DSA your video platform on YouTube, they're also organized per,
Yes.
teaching. You have, in some you have 129 videos, and some you have 75 on a particular topic.
Yeah.
So even some of my questions become redundant because they're either in your books, they're either in your
Videos.
So all I would say to people in Southern Africa is just go and read all the books. Go and
Look for the videos.
Videos, and if you have any further questions,
Then you can write to me on my inbox, or just write to me at pastor@godembassy.org.
And that also comes to a certain thing, because a certain point, education. Your books, I think you're an award-winning seller on Amazon,
Yes.
bestseller. So it's not just any book you just thought of writing. It's published by a well-known publisher. It's sold on.
I've had #1 on Amazon, at least 20 books as #1 on Amazon.
And these are free.
They are free for people who are registered on Kindle Unlimited. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, they're free.
Yes, they're free. Yes.
They're free. So we have no excuse. So the other thing that we will jump into, because to get into the specifics of what in your book won't complete answering questions. So I'm just going to dive outside into perhaps more specific situations and scenarios in Southern Africa, and ask how you would advise on them. What are your thoughts? We talked a bit about the political. Some of the topics range between political, economic. There's no real, cut line. Okay, let's say for now in South Africa, and Zimbabwe, and some other countries too, there's the land reform or the land seizure question. What are your thoughts, or what are perhaps your comments or advice?
Yes, I think there is a real need to bring about justice for the black people and for the majority of people, the black people, in regards to land. There is no denying the fact that the white people came to Africa and usurped the rights of our people and took over their lands and their inheritances. So what I think the government should do is to do an inventory of all white farm owners and land owners in the country, and then find out how many of these landowners actually just possess them by dispossessing the Africans, and how many of them actually paid for their land. So I think it would be inappropriate to begin to evict the people who have already paid for the land. So if they are white people, but they own the land in Africa and they have paid for it, we should leave them. It is the people who didn't pay for the land and took over the land by force, or by just took it by one way or the other. They are the ones that need to now pay if they want to remain in that land. If they cannot pay, then we could offer them to give them over to the African people. On the other hand, even those who have paid, we could see, was it chicken change that they paid to buy the land, to take over the land that time, or they paid the truly market price? If we discover that they didn't pay the market price, we just do assessment and say, okay, you need to pay this more so that you'll be able to. But if you cannot pay that more, then we have to divide the land and sell the part that you have not paid, but the part you have paid for, you keep them. And then I would not do it as radically as Mugabe tried to do it. And I would not do it as radically as Mapepa, was his name, the South African young man. Is it Mapepa? The opposition.
Malema. Julius
Malema. I would not do it as radically as he is proposing to do it. I will take a lot of consideration and to the fact that the South Africans now are also citizens of the land, just like the black people. But we just need to rearrange and bring in justice, because God is a God of justice.
Okay, thank you very much. Then just flowing from that question is some of the disturbing situations we're seeing in Africa, specifically in South Africa. recurring, you know, couple of years after years, xenophobia. You know, people from different countries are being killed. And have you got any thoughts or any insight and any advice on that?
Yes, there are two things I can say about that. Number one, I think the government needs to take responsibility for the xenophobia and the effects of it. I think it's because the South Africans don't know the role that other African countries played to bring about their freedom. They think that it is their country and they are the ones who suffered the deprivation of appetite, and then they are the ones who fought for it themselves. But if they had known the role that Nigeria played, for example, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Ghana, and the role that all these countries played to make sure that South Africa becomes free, then they will be more grateful to their brothers from Africa. But since they are young people who are just growing up this generation, and they don't know about it. But the generation of those people who fought for independence, their father's generation, know. So it is a normal thing, it will be a welcoming thing to have a television program, documentaries, and history time, whereby this television program comes in every week, where they are talking about the help that was offered and given to South Africa to get our independence from all our other African countries, and to be showing the documentaries of what happened, how they helped, what are the sacrifices other Africans had to go through to bring about the independence of South Africa. If that is well articulated and on regular basis, on like a weekly program, it will going to resolve the problem of xenophobia. That's on one hand. On the other hand, I think the people in South Africa need to also address, the government, the question of inequality and the questions of poverty in the land. If the question of poverty is addressed, then I don't think the people will be, you know, as ignorant and or stupid to begin to attack other people who are just also looking for opportunities just like themselves. But thirdly, I would say some of these countries that have been attacked, especially Nigerians who have been attacked in South Africa, it's a time for them to also take a second thought about going back to their countries, to develop their countries. Maybe it's one of the evils that are not pleasant, but could be used for good or could be turned to good if, you know, people would think about what they could do constructively to make their country a better place to reside.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that insight. Even flowing from the xenophobia, especially in South Africa, has been such a big issue, and it's beyond anyone's expectation that anyone could do that to a fellow African. You know, if you look at philosophy of Ubuntu, we are basically the same. You know, we are one. If you go to Tanzania, you'll find that people actually welcome you as a foreigner. You know, they actually want, there's the word karibu, they actually words in the actual language to say welcome, where you don't actually find it in other countries. So my question is that there's a lot of other isms. Xenophobia is the one that is very visible, but there's tribalism. In some of these other states, African states, then if you don't get tribalism, there's another ism. There's maybe classism. We might be in the different tribes or in the same tribe, but someone might be in a higher class than someone else. Then if there's no classism, sometimes there's racism. And in the unique case of even South Africa in some cases, or some other Southern African countries, not just South Africa, there's also what we almost call reverse racism, where it's not on black people, but it's back against the white people, So do you find anything that we should do as Southern and Eastern Africans to, for us to change this? Or do you know if there's any point that actually caused all these isms that we have?
Well, first of all, I think the main important reason for these kind of things is the economic inequality. I think if the question of economic inequality will be addressed, that a lot of these things will fall off. Also, another thing that you mentioned just now in your speech is is it Ubuntu you call it?
Ubuntu, yeah.
Ubuntu.
Yes.
Yeah, the Ubuntu doctrine is a great one. You are because I am because you are. Okay, I exist because you exist. You know, I am because you are. You know, it's such a great philosophy, but that philosophy has to be developed and has to actually be developed as a philosophical concept that will be taught from primary school to university. If we could present that kind of ideology and propagate it and make it a part and parcel of our culture and of our worldview, and to make it a pan-African philosophy and ideology that everybody would know and live for, we will love one another better.
Definitely. And in terms, as what you said, what you mentioned earlier before, that other countries, including Nigeria or Tanzania, Zambia, actually help South Africa, you know, in wars. Zimbabwe has also been helped before, you know, even with South Africa helped Zimbabwe. We've also found Mozambique to help Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has helped Mozambique. So I hope this could, you know, continue. And I don't understand how we've lost Ubuntu, because when we're looking at it, the people who actually had Ubuntu are the older generation. And the one thing is the people in power, in some governments where there's, you know, a lot of bad things happening politically, there are people who actually lived the Ubuntu. They had grandparents and great-grandparents who had Ubuntu. What do you think had caused them? You know, they were living it. Maybe the young generations, they've just had, you know, Western media and a lot of economic hardships as soon as they were born. What about these older generation who are not ceding power, who are probably, you know, doing some harm in one or other way? Could you say what could have caused them to rail off Ubuntu?
Yeah, because they might be aware of Ubuntu, but they are not, they don't believe in it. So I think it is a matter of, you know, not just being aware of something, but making it your own philosophical worldview and making it your paradigm and believing in it, pushing for it. The proof that they don't believe in it is that they are not propagating it and they are not teaching it from primary school to university. And it's not their lifestyle. What you believe in, you do. If you are not living in accordance to what you know, you don't really know that thing. That is not who you are. So if you are doing the opposite, it means that it is the opposite that you really believe in. So it doesn't matter if their parents believe in it themselves or not. That's the same reason why you have pastors. They have pastors' kids, or what they call it. Is it pastors' kids or something?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so why do they have the syndrome of pastors' kids? Because these are pastors who are ministers themselves, and their children are most of the time the opposite of who they are. They don't believe in God, they are wild and things, because the fact that they know the gospel or they were born in such families doesn't mean that they have made it their lifestyle. So the same thing with Ubuntu.
So we're going to go into the social crisis. You know, some of these topics are crisscrossing each other. So now with modern media and influence from, you know, Western world, there's pressure in other countries. Actually, in South Africa, we know that I think there's a movement. Let's say homosexuality is open, okay, and it's basically almost legal. It was one of the first nations to, you know, to say, okay, if you have that persuasion.
What nation?
South Africa.
Okay.
So in Africa, and other nations have stood firm. I think Kenya stood firm. I think Mugabe stood firm.
Uganda.
Uganda stood firm. Some people do it because it's an economic, you know, decision that if you don't allow certain, you know, agendas from the West or wherever they're coming from, you won't get financing. You'll be shut off, you know. And besides, these are personal cases. You know, someone wants to do whatever they want to do. Should the government be involved in it? What are your thoughts?
Well, the homosexual agenda has really come to be popularized in Africa by the Western world. The Western world are using economic sabotage to push the homosexual agenda. And I know pastors in Uganda who can no more enter into America because they were campaigning against homosexuality. And apart from that, the Western government denying aid to some African countries just because they were putting pressure on them to adopt and accept the homosexual agenda. So it is a lot of manipulation and a lot of, especially during the time of Obama and Obama and Democratic people, liberal leaders in America. So we have to just, as Christians, we have to keep on doing our own job of spreading the truth and of trying to let people know the truth. We are the light of the world. And so we need to let our light shine that no, homosexuality is a sin. And even though we love the people themselves, but their lifestyle could be changed for the better if they will accept the Lord Jesus Christ in their hearts. So we just need to, hasten up our work and be more proactive about it.
You've actually come up with a very powerful word. It just seems normal to the normal person. You say the word love, okay? And I think people can't even comprehend. Because when I asked you some weeks, just a few weeks ago, what your secret for the rehabilitation center success, I was waiting for a powerful scientific, but you told me that you just gave them love.
Yes.
Can you just explain, because it seems so basic, maybe we don't get the concept.
Yeah, there was a time that the Lord taught me about the true meaning of ministry. That ministry is the ability to make ordinary people feel the touch of God, the ability to touch people with God's touch of love, the ability to make people experience God's love. And if you could make them to feel the touch of God's love, to experience God's love for real, that touch itself is capable of breaking the chain of addiction and the jinx of alcoholism or drugs, and is capable of restoring and delivering any human being, even without doing all those artificial deliverance services and all those kind of shouting and falling and without any drama. If people will experience the true touch of God's love, they get delivered, they get saved, and they get healed immediately.
By the way, I specifically didn't mention that you're a pastor.
Okay.
In all these talking, so that I could maintain people, because once people hear you're a pastor, they put you into a box to say you're a pastor. Now, what have you to do with economics? We've heard you talk about economics. We've heard you talk about the other things we're even going to talk about, maybe about technology and the climate and other issues. So, what we'd like to know, Pastor Sunday or Dr. Sunday Elijah or DSA, which box can we put you into? Because you're everywhere, you're doing a lot of things, you're achieving in so many different things. You're writing books, you're rehabilitating people, you're known for calling out people in the church for church reform and people's names, pastors' names, powerful people, powerful men of God, highly anointed people, as they say. So which box can we actually put you in?
That's why I changed my, my name, my Facebook name from Pastor Sunday Adelaja to Dr. Sunday Adelaja, because I don't want people to put me in any box. We have to be careful about labeling ourselves. Because once you label yourself like a pastor, people put you in that box and lock it up. And then they find it impossible for them to imagine you in another place apart from that place. So because you label yourself, you put yourself in that box. So I try to remove myself from that box of saying I'm just a pastor. And, that's why I use a neutral, for me, a title that is much more neutral. That's Dr. Sunday Adelaja, which brings me away from just people thinking that I'm just a pastor. So who am I? I'm versatile. And that's one of the things that the Lord had taught me, that, you know, it's a mistake to think that you can only be developed or gifted in one area. So I've learned that God is a versatile God, and I've learned to be versatile like my God. And God is comprehensive, and I've tried to be as comprehensive as possible too. So to put me in a box would be a it would be a big mistake. Like what we're discussing today is more of international history, history of contemporary history, contemporary African history. And you know, you see me here talking about it as if I know about those places or I come from there. But this is because I'm versatile. You know, I've written a book about Africa here. I've written a book about, you know, science. I've written a book about philosophy. I've written books about philosophy. I've written books about history. I've written books about psychology. I've written books on sociology. I've written books about development. I've written books about anthropology. I've written books about science, mathematics. I've written books about physics. You know, I've done a lot of things in different areas that I think just show that the God that is in me is vast, and I must be vast like himself. So I don't think I could just be fit into just one box.
And definitely the vision that you have for Africa through this transformation is definitely that you're going to be producing people who fit in that type of expertise or model than what we had before in our educational system, where you're either an accountant, a teacher, or you can be a teacher and a pastor and an engineer and a baker or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. You can be versatile. You can have multiple gifts. You can have multiple abilities besides just one. And before we go on, because we just have a few more minutes to go, maybe I should also give opportunity to people who are watching us and might be willing to call into the program. So if you want to call into the program, please go to Facebook Messenger. And when you get to Facebook Messenger, look for Move Agents. Move Agents. All right? One word, Move Agents. MADIC. Move Agents, one word. So look for that in Facebook Messenger. Once you get there, and then you could just write to us, send us SMS message or text message that you want to call. And when we get your message, we'll call you back. All right? So while we are continuing our questions, we will appreciate you sending your request to us. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. The other major question that we were going to go is just because of a lack of time, but I'll summarize it, is the diaspora.
Okay.
Community, Southern African diaspora, and you know, other countries, Eastern African, and probably even Nigerian diaspora. It seems there's a lot of challenges, you know, and is there a way that you could help them, or some advice you could help them, for them to come together, you know, as a bloc, because they're perhaps just in Nigeria, at least 5 million in diaspora. From countries like Zimbabwe, probably 3 or 4 million. Then you have Zambia, and collectively, they could have, you know, airlines, or they could own systems, infrastructure. They always ship goods from continent to continent. They always send money through one big payer or two big financial systems. Is there a place for perhaps you, just say, with your finances, to come in? You know, I talked about the Southern Africans, to now come in for the diasporas, so that they can be, you know, revitalized, you know, capitalized for their student loans, for their mortgages in diaspora, for their education, for their business ventures, and for infrastructure, you know, with billions of dollars, because they are not getting that type of money. They're not getting that opportunity because of no credit and no guarantee.
Well, no, I don't want to come and help diasporans you know, establish themselves in foreign countries and foreign continents. No, that's not my plan. My plan is to encourage them to come back to Africa, and let's make Africa as attractive as these countries that they are living in right now. So I want to go to Nigeria with about 2,000 people minimum at least, and I want to appeal to people from all over other countries in Africa to go with me to Africa. let's go and make Africa a better place, and or you could arrange a similar thing to go back to your country and contribute to the development of your country. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to go back to Africa because they don't have the conditions. Well, we are going back to create the conditions. So once we succeed in creating the conditions, we hope that you come and join us. But if you are bold enough to go with us, let's go and create the conditions together. But then another question is, what are they going to live on? Like you said, finances. Well, I have a program that I'm going to offer everybody that's going with me back to Africa. We are going to have 3 schemes, financial schemes, to make sure that they don't live worse than the way they are living right now in Europe. So let's say they are making $10,000 a month or $5,000 a month right now in Europe, and they are afraid that if they go back to Africa, their standard of living will fall. We are going to be able to make arrangements for them so that they will not earn less than the money they are earning if they are skillful, if they could offer us something. And if they cannot offer us something, then if they have their own projects that they want to do, we also plan to offer them loans and financial assistance to be able to come up with their projects and be able to do those projects in Africa. And then there are some other people that might not want to work with some. There are 2 I've mentioned. The people who want to work under us, just work with us, like staff, like workers. Then the second option is people who have their own projects, who just need money to come back and do their own projects. Then there are also the third option are the people who have their own ideas, but they want to work with us in partnership. So we are going to enter into partnership with them, help them with the money for their own ideas that they want to bring to pass, but we're going to be working together. So those are the 3 options that we are going to offer people who will be going with us to Africa.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, these are massive opportunities for people and for nations and for the whole world itself. The other things that some of the gaps that we had, almost closing on our time, but some of the gaps we had is in technology, and your thoughts about, the fact that Africa, we are just getting technology from the West. And, now with surveillance, with AI, we don't know what the risks are. So I don't know if you have any views on the technology that's coming into Africa, or if you have any program to really make us have ownership to develop our own systems so that we are not, adopting anyone's agenda.
Every Sunday we have a program here we call Creative and Innovative Hour. And we try to feature talented African people who are inventors and innovators. And that's one of the things that I plan to do when I get back to Africa. We want to be able to build innovation city and invention valleys, whereby we encourage people who are talented from Africa to, develop and to give them the possibility and the opportunity to be able to develop their skills and be able to, develop technology in Africa. I know of a Zimbabwean guy that developed this helicopter and plane and things like that. He has a lot of inventions, and now he's in America.
Wow.
And it's because he's not being supported enough back in Africa. And a lot of people like that, we want to bring them back home and create the environment for them.
In fact, we actually had a discussion with someone else yesterday about it, especially even with that particular inventor. There was one person who tried...
You know of him, right?
Yes, I know of him. Yes, I know of some different inventions. And what's actually happened even in South Africa, there's a young boy who, at probably 17, created something called dry bath, where you can actually wash yourself with sort of like a towelette and so on, but it's not even been adopted across Africa. It had accolades throughout Africa. And we're saying the mindset in Africa is that once someone hears it's from Africa, we just, we second guess it. It could be the most brilliant invention and people just walk past it. You showcased on radio and TV, but people just don't, have the confidence in African people. And this would be a very great, platform for people to be based in. And then the other topic, which I don't know if you've covered it, even in your books, but it's to do almost with technology, but more, now it's getting way more serious. It's the, let's say in the biotech sector, where people are now manipulating genes and, you know, even to the child to say what kind of child you want, you know, it's almost possible now to say what kind of eyes or how tall, you know, sportsmen, and people probably now manipulating with animals, you know, to get certain benefits. And there are actually even some things that you can test, things that you can actually play around with at home for $100 or $200. So could you have a place where you actually stand firm as a, on, let's say in a Christian, on an ethical point for all these biological or technical things that are happening? Because it seems the other churches, there's no real church platform that's standing on to say, no, this is correct, or this crosses, you know, ethical lines, don't take this, don't do this. You know, we're just open to whatever comes to us.
I don't know if if the danger is in Africa yet, but I know that even in the Western countries, it's not a straightforward thing yet, and it's not easily being put. Some people are trying to push it through in the Western world, but it's not as easy. There are a lot of resistance. There are a lot of people who are against it, and there are some people who are for it. I've not written any book about that, and I just think that the problems we have in Africa right now are much more urgent than the cloning and the genetic modification and things like that. I think those are second-tier problems for Africa. The problems that we are battling with in Africa right now, which are much more urgent, are the problems of how to feed ourselves, how to bring about development, industrialization, and those are more urgent than these other ones. But these ones too, we have to face them. But I think we need to join the world community to be able to come to, an agreement on some of these issues.
And there's a big topic that you discuss in some of your programs, especially for the Nigerian Transformation Project, which a lot of people that I find in Africa, they don't really cover it as in depth as as you do, or with the passion as you do. And we just sort of take it for granted. That's the environment, climate change. Can you speak to this or give some advice, even to governments?
Oh yes, because climate change is a problem and a question that God himself takes very high and is very enthusiastic and passionate about. When God created us, he gave us the mandate to take care of the planet. It said that we should have dominion or have rulership upon everything, upon the whole earth. That is the planet, the ecology and the weather, the plants, the trees, everything. So all these things are things that we are supposed to be responsible for as human. And if we are not taking responsibility for them, then we are showing irresponsibility. And that God would demand from us, because he had given us authority to rule and manage the earth for him. That's why I'm enthusiastic about that. And we need to do more of training. We need to do more trainings and more enlightenment work with church people, with Christians, and with people in Africa to know that, if we don't take care of the environment, we will kill ourselves through the environment. And so it's God's ordination. He said we should eat, when he took the children of, when he took Adam and Eve into the Garden of Eden, he told them to take care of the planet, the environment as well. He told them to till the ground, but not just to till it and explore it only. Don't just explore the earth, but keep it, protect it, watch over it. And that's what we are lacking sometimes. We just want to take from the earth and the environment, but we don't want to be responsible enough to watch over it. And that's why I'm enthusiastic about this.
And one of the last topics, one of the major topics in Africa is to do with our society, our culture, and church transformation. What's going, I don't know if you had a chance to see what goes on in African churches. Maybe because you're the pastor, I'll give you the platform, because there's certain things that you probably touch a nerve in Africa, and because you're a pastor, you probably have the authority. You once touched one of the greatest, according to Southern Africans, TB Joshua. There are a lot of South Africans who go there and come back. And you were saying on this platform that what they're doing is magic. It's not Christian, it's syncretism. Are you still going to, confirm that on this platform to the Southern African people?
Yes, I have a whole lot of teachings, a series of teaching that I call brainwashing series, psychopath series, cult series. So there are a lot of teachings that I've used to address the issue of all the pseudo churches that we have in Africa. I think witchcraft has hijacked the Nigerian and African churches. So most of these churches like Bushiri, what's the name
Alf
of
Local.
Alf Local, and all these Nigerian churches that are in South Africa area, I think people should run for their lives.
Wow.
People should, TB Joshua and all those people should keep away from all of them and look for personal relationship with Christ. They just need to listen to my teachings on African church and urgent measures to rescue the African church, paganism series, syncretism series. They will really get a lot of help from those teachings.
Wow, that's it might seem as something very small, but this is one of the biggest. This is one of the biggest impact. Even before you come to Nigeria, just what you've said right now, because you're a pastor, because no other pastor, I think maybe there's just one, is talking about that with names, because you actually mentioned more names. Bushiri, the major one, and Alf Lukau, who had a dead person who was raised at his church, apparently. Apparently I heard that, okay, something else happened, but there are hundreds of thousands of people across the region in each country who go to these churches and get anointed oil and pay and a lot of stickers and things like that. So would you tell them that these things are in vain? Or is
yes, those are voodoo practices that are masqueraded as church, as Christianity. But those are not Christianity. Those are witchcraft practices in those churches.
I think by what you've said, you have delivered so many people, even mentally, because there's the other aspect of psychological abuse, spiritual abuse. When people go to church and they have these big people, they feel that nothing will happen in their lives if they don't go to this church, if they don't see this man of God. People are traveling between countries to see some of them. So what you've done just now, for those who will listen, I think it will save them a lot. So even for your success, did you at any point use any anointing oil or anointed water?
Yes, we do use. Up to now, I use anointing oil, but we're not commercial.
Right.
But the Bible says sometimes that it's not for my success. It didn't play any role in my success at all. Okay. It's just sometimes the Bible says that if you are sick, go to the pastors or go to the leaders. They will anoint you with oil, but not in a way that is being done right now when people are making money out of it and making people to have faith in oil. No, it is not the oil that will heal you. It is the prayer of faith that heals people. But it's not one of the major things that made me to be successful. I just know that it is biblical. We shouldn't throw away something that is biblical just because people have abused it. But it is legitimate to use oil in the Bible, but not in a commercial way, commercializing and things like that, the way it has been done. People have abused it and have taken it to actually is used as a talisman. It's more like voodoo, like talisman right now. It's like medium. They are using those things like medium right now, and that is where it is bad. That is where the evil comes in.
And another major topic that you've been on a few months ago was the tithing.
Yes.
Many people, desperate people, old people, single mothers or people who are suffering actually go and they say put money on the prophets, prophets. That's another section, the prophets' feet, or you have to keep on connecting, no matter some actually exclude paying their bills in faith, whether over the phone, whether over by mail, over the internet. Is this also in vain, or is there something?
Yes, it is in vain, because that is that is robbing people. That is taking from the poor. Where the church is supposed to give to the poor, not take from the poor. And then other thing they say that if you don't pay your tithes, you are under a curse. It doesn't apply in the New Testament. I have a whole lot of teachings on this as well, tithe and offering, where I speak extensively about that.
Wow. So basically, a lot of things that are happening in these churches, your doctrines and your philosophies are so different. So even with people touching, I've been to your church, no one came with a tithe, or asked, but I didn't even know where the tithe are. I wanted to leave before anyone comes, but no one came to me. People are free. In fact, how many times do you actually go to church?
Once a month. I only go once a month, yeah.
Well, and you're the pastor, you're the founder.
This founder. But that's because I used to go every day before, almost. Not every day, every week. But the reason I'm doing that right now is that I have to step behind, because I'm getting ready to go to Africa. So I have to release the church more to the hands of all the other pastors that have anointed, that we've ordained, that are running the churches. So that it's not attached to me. And so that then we don't have the superhero syndrome or hero worship syndrome, whereby everybody just looking up to me. So that's why I stood back, so that other people could run the church.
So basically, even almost along those lines, there are a lot of people whose time, it's not just the money, but it's also the time. They're told to come on Wednesday. And so in some churches, you actually have a debit machine, wireless debit machine. Then they're told to pray and pray and pray, sweating, rolling all over the ground, praying for hours. Then they're told to come on Friday, a couple of hours too. Then they're told to come on Sunday, and even afterwards, there are meetings on Sunday by some of these. I'm now switching from saying a pastor to prophets. Mm-hmm. Now that's the main thing. We have prophets in the New. First, this thing about time. Before I even touch the prophets, this thing about time. How do people balance their lives? How do people do rest from their work? Can they decide? Do they have free choice to say, well, if a prophet or pastor says I have to come 4 times, I don't feel my body can take it. I can only come once or whenever, I've got other important things like family.
Actually, a Christian doesn't have to go to a physical building for church. You don't have to go to church. Going to church is not compulsory. I have a whole series that is called How to Know God Through the Church, where I explain the whole thing, that you don't have to go to church. We don't have to go to church. You only go to church if you know that you are going there to be of an encouragement and a blessing to other brethren, or you want to just be in fellowship with other brethren. But it's not compulsory. Nobody has to go to church more than once a week. But if you want to, there might be some reasons, but you don't have to. It is not compulsory. The Bible says we should worship God in spirit and in truth.
And I also see the book on which was advertised about ladies and marriage and so forth.
Yes.
And there's another thing about the control of churches on every sector of your life. Now the churches have said that they have the vision from God of what you can do in your life, who to talk to, who to solve. You have to come to the church for problems, or to show you who your spouse and things like this. Is this doctrinal, or?
That is control. That is control and manipulation. And that's why I said there are teachings that I've done that say, is your pastor a psychopath? Psychopath and narcissist. So those are, signs that you are not going to a church, you are going to a cult.
Wow.
Nobody should interfere into your personal life. It's your walk with God, personal walk with God.
So basically, if just to make things even simpler for the common person, if a pastor or a prophet tells you something and it doesn't resonate in your mind, I think I heard there's a word called cognitive dissonance, where there's something right, but someone's telling you to do something opposite. Someone telling you drive on the other side of the road, where you're supposed to be on the left-hand side of the road. They say, no, I'm your prophet or your pastor. You have to drive on
I have some teachings that I say, be your own prophet. Be your own prophet. You don't need any prophet in the first place.
That's going to shake a lot of people.
Yeah.
In fact, in the New Testament church, just to wrap, the New Testament church, are they prophets or?
No, those are more Old Testament practices. In the New Testament, everybody has the gift of prophecy. Anybody could have that gift of prophecy, and it's mainly for edification of the brethren. But what they are doing right now is manipulation. Is to prove their superiority over ordinary Christians, and it is manipulation. It is that's what psychopaths do.
Wow. I think, especially for the Southern African region and the East African region, I want to thank you for speaking your capacity as a pastor, because no one else has, probably that authority to speak. And I think hundreds of thousands of people have been, delivered or lifted, or, if they have
At least they have the hope.
They have the
will
hope.
Put it out there.
Even before you even come with money, this is a very big part. And I thank you for the opportunities that you are presenting to numerous countries in Africa, Southern, Eastern Africa, and even by offering us money and opportunities, you're also offering other countries that we trade with. And I thank you for the platform that you've had, because you still have many years to go. You were saying that you still want to write how many books, by the way?
Yeah, I want to write in total at least 1,000 books.
So even on top of what we have already, there's unlimited amount of material for people to absorb. And this has been very, not just informative, but I think it's been very productive, because people that I know from Southern Africa and from Tanzania, from Zimbabwe, from South Africa, were wanting to know that they have a deal, as it were, that they have somewhere that they can go for money. And I think you've said it, because there are conditions that they have, but that means that you deserve it. And the fact that the money is there, the opportunity is there, the training is available. And I think we've done a lot I did take it a bit longer, because there's certain things Southern Africans needed to hear, from you directly in your capacity, especially even with the churches and so on, it's a big thing, and with the finances. And I thank you very much. It's been a very productive day. Now I can sleep very, very well.
Yeah, thank you so much too for those very thought-provoking questions from people from that part of the world. I've not been speaking a lot about people from other parts of Africa, and some people have been concerned about this, that why is it that I always just speak about Nigeria? So you broke the jinx today.
Okay.
And thanks to you, now I could refer them to this particular program and say, well, go and hear what are the plans that I have for South African and East African region. So for people who are watching us right now, I want to encourage you to go and share this message and send it to your South African, Eastern African people, colleagues, friends, and family that you know. And this is my latest book here. It's called Ladies Forget About Marriage, Build Your Life. That means build your life first before you consider marriage. It's going to be a blessing to you. Go look for it on Amazon. It's on sales now for $3 something. And it will be, it will be an eye-opener for every lady, either married or unmarried. There is another book that I have there. It's called How Every African Nation Can Become a First World Nation. How Every African Nation Can Become a First World Nation. You can get all these books on Amazon, and you can read them for free on Kindle Unlimited. But if you're in Africa, you can get them on www.dsabooksplanet.com. So dsabooksplanet.com is one word, dsabooksplanet, one word.com. So you'll be able to get the books there. And if you want to buy electronically, you could go to okadabooks.com in Africa as well. So I guess that's how we're going to end this topic today, because we have overspent our time here, and I'll be coming back in the next 10-20 minutes to continue our series on service and stewardship. So understanding service and stewardship as the meaning of life. We'll see you in 10-15 minutes. Peace.